Insurance Insights is a presentation of the Institute's Griffith Insurance Education Foundation, whose mission is to empower public policymakers through a greater understanding of insurance and risk management. Deeply committed to objectivity, all Griffith Foundation programming is strictly instructional in nature and does not support a position on any issues.
This is Frank Tomasello of the Institute's Griffith Foundation. Joining me in discussion from the Stamford campus of the University of Connecticut is the newly elected NAIC President, Connecticut Insurance Commissioner Andrew Mais. We'll learn more about his distinguished background, his involvement with the NAIC, and his thoughts as to the RMI challenges and opportunities ahead for public policymakers in 2024. Commissioner Mais, thank you for joining me, and congratulations on your election to the role of President of the NAIC.
Thank you. It's really great to be here, Frank. I do have to say I've been in this industry for a while, and I've always been impressed by the work of the Institute Griffiths Foundation, the work that you've done in educating people. And when I say educating people, it's been, everywhere I go, I see your name in the industry, of course. But there are so many different areas where education is needed, from educating consumers, educating legislators, and yes, educating regulators. And you have done an incredible job. I am so happy to be able to work with you here at the start of my tenure as president. And I hope I can convey to you how important I find the work that you do and how grateful I am for it.
For those unfamiliar with the NAIC, how would you describe the organization and its role in the insurance ecosystem?
It's an interesting question, and those unfamiliar with the NAIC may be probably almost everybody in the population, certainly an awful lot of people within insurance as well. And at this point, given that insurance is such an international business, we also have an education process that we have to do internationally. The NAIC, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, is a membership group. It is technically, legally, an instrumentality of the states. We've got 56 members, the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 territories. And we act as the standard setter for U.S. insurance regulation. Now, when I say standard setter, let me make clear here, the NAIC is not a regulator. And I say that because certainly for some of my international friends who do not understand the way our system, the U.S. federalist system operates, they think of the NAIC as this regulator. No, we, the insurance commissioners, superintendents, directors, we are the NAIC. We make decisions. And what we do, I think our primary goal, protecting consumers is that's the overarching goal. How do we do that? We create a national system of state-based regulation. Now, with 56 different jurisdictions, what we need to do is create a balance between allowing for innovation and experimentation while making sure that we can all trust each other. So, and that's what our accreditation process is all about. All the states, all the members have to be accredited. And that means that if you buy a policy in Guam or in New York or in California or in Connecticut, you can trust that the regulators, not only in your home state, but in all the other states, know that this is a good policy. It follows the basic rules laid down by the NAIC. And if we look back, certainly, I can tell you I, in a sense, grew up back in 2008 when I was with the New York State Insurance Department. And I still remember that in really, I'm just going to say incredible, and it is, and it's just hard to fathom in so many ways, that Friday afternoon when our BlackBerries, we had those big BlackBerries then, went off. And we were told to come to the office because there was an issue that was AIG concern. You've looked at the system. This says, there are those who think that our system, how can it work when you've got 56 different jurisdictions? But you look at how we survived that crisis in '08. There was already a transition in place. We had already recognized as insurance regulators that we needed to move beyond the simple state-based legal entity basis of regulation and move to what we call a windows and walls approach. So we can look at all the risks. So we got through '08. We got through COVID. The system has not only thrived, it's not only survived, it has thrived. And that's a tribute to the 56 insurance chief regulators of the NAIC. One of the things I'll tell you, because going back to, again, my days in New York and through here, and certainly now as president of the NAIC, we've had divisions. If you look at the nation has divisions. Yet you see a group of people who are able to put politics or demographics or economics aside to come together to make the decision that we all see as the best for consumers. That's what the NAIC is about, and that's what we hope to keep going in the future. Certainly my legacy is to keep the NAIC operating as the voice, when you get right down to it, the voice of the insurance consumer throughout the United States.
Reflecting upon the year that's just concluded, I welcome your perspective on the challenges, the trends that public policymakers faced related to RMI in 2023. What are your thoughts there?
It's been an interesting year, just to go back over 2023, 2020, and looking forward to 2024. Now, clearly, one of the issues we've had was COVID. We had COVID, we had George Floyd. We've had to recover from that. That's caused significant disruption in supply chains, caused inflation, all of the stuff that we've seen happen. We've also had macroeconomic issues and macro-political issues that we've had to be concerned with as regulators. And yet, through it all, we've remained constant, we've remained vigilant. There are issues that have evolved and that will continue to be evolved. For instance, we can take a look at there are concerns in some quarters about who owns insurance companies and what. We've seen the transition from a extended low interest rate environment to a much higher interest rate environment. There are so many issues, and then there are the basic issues that we've had to deal with. We've had to deal with climate change. And personally, I don't really, as I was getting ready for this, I was listening to the radio and they said 2023 was the warmest year on record in the U.S. and 2024, even though we're barely into it, is already on track to be even warmer. And I don't care why we have climate change. My concern is that the climate is changing, and that we need to make sure that consumers have affordable, available life insurance. And that's part of what I think we've done as the NAIC over the past few years and will continue to do. Focus on the solutions to the problems that affect us. We cannot let politics stand in the way, and we will not let politics stand in the way. We keep our eyes on the prize. We know that consumers need to be protected against cyber attacks. We know that the consumer in the morning has to go to work and get in his or her or their car, and they need to have insurance on the way there. They need to have health insurance for their family. All the protection that insurance, this great industry, offers has to be there. And for us, we need to make sure that what we have is a system that gets the best, most relevant products available to consumers as affordably as possible. And if that remains our North Star, then we will have done our job.
Commissioner Mais, as we enter the new year, what do you see as some of the most pressing priorities for insurance regulators and why?
I don't want to speak out of turn here because usually the way the NAIC works, as you know, it's a group consensus. And it will not be for another month until we all get together to identify our top priorities for the year. But if you look back over last year, I don't think there have been too many changes or that there will be too many changes. Probably the one significant item I would say that is time sensitive would be international. The aggregation method versus as part of the international capital standard, as the U.S. implementation of the International Capital Standard and the comparability assessment. And it sounds really technical, but if you look at what is happening or what has happened in Europe, where some of their long duration products, life products, annuity products, companies have pulled out of that because of the capital charges associated with that. We have a system in the U.S. where we may not necessarily have the It's not the same structure politically. We don't have the same kind of safety net that some of the Europeans may have. And I speak of the Europeans because it's primarily we're the two big markets here that are concerned. We need in the U.S. to enable our companies, again, to provide the products that consumers need. So whether that's life insurance or annuities, products that are going to be able to get them through the end of life when they're most needy. So we have to make sure that whatever system is in place accurately reflects the needs of American consumers and supports American industry. So that's a process that is ongoing this year. That's one of the significant items that we will have to focus on this year. Other items are, I don't want to say evergreen, but just, climate change, climate risk. We are particularly concerned, and I shouldn't say climate change because we're concerned with climate risk. It doesn't matter what the climate is doing. It's a risk that it poses that matters to us. And part of what the NAIC has been doing, we've been setting up a data call. We want to see at a more granular level what is happening with coverage. We want to be able to assess availability, affordability. We need to be able to say, okay, this is what's going on here. This is how it's affecting consumers. How do we as regulators reduce the friction? Cyber, AI, a couple of different, related issues, for instance. But as AI progresses, it is going to be incredibly consequential. We as regulators have to be prepared for it. We have to be prepared for it in terms of the personnel, the skill sets that we have in place. And we also have to be prepared for it in terms of the regulatory structure. We do know that AI has a tremendous capability to make things better, to reduce friction, to create better, more relevant products at lower cost. We also know it's a tool that could also simply perpetuate the biases of the past. How do we make sure that the good side of AI is what we as regulators encourage over the course of the year? And at the same time, we have to make sure that we're not holding back innovation. Those are some of the items that we're going to be looking at. You look at, I mentioned earlier, some of the issues with ownership structures for life insurance, well, particularly for life insurance, but we've certainly seen in terms of insurance and reinsurance, there have been concerns expressed by some of our counterparts as to who owns companies. What does that mean for the outlook? Are they long-term investors? Is this going to be a flipping? A whole bunch of questions. We need to make sure that we have the insight in order to provide the proper oversight. That's one of the items we're going to be looking at. And race and insurance, of course, that has been a priority of ours, and it will continue to be a priority this year. We will keep working on it. I'm looking forward to the time when it is simply integrated into the rest of the NAIC's work stream. That's not this time yet this year. But those are among the items that we're going to be focusing on. I'm sure I've missed some, but we do have, if you check back with us early, I would say by the end of the first quarter, when all the members come together and decide this is what's important, we will have a good list ready for you.
Commissioner Mais, thank you for joining me and for sharing your insights and expertise. I'm Frank Tomasello. Thank you for being with us for this edition of Insurance Insights. To learn more about the Griffith Foundation and its offerings, please visit griffithfoundation.org.